My wife's best friend accused me of making advances toward her at her own wedding. My wife believed her without question and even filed a police report against me. Later, the truth came out. Her friend had already ruined several other marriages by telling the exact same lie. Can you imagine spending 5 years building a life with someone, only to have them believe a complete stranger's twisted lie over your own truth? My wife, the woman I swore to spend forever with, actually filed a police report against me, all because of her best friend's sick, manipulative game. What would you do when your entire world collapses overnight and the person you trust most becomes your greatest enemy? Just a few months ago, I thought my life with my wife, Sarah, 32F, was solid. We'd been married for almost 5 years, together for much longer. We met through friends, hit it off, and I genuinely believed we had something special, a relationship built on communication, on working through things. But I was so wrong. The source of this absolute nightmare? Her best friend, Melissa, 33F. Melissa and Sarah have been inseparable since middle school. And honestly, their friendship always felt intense. Melissa? High maintenance. Attention-seeking. The kind of person who needs to be the center of every room, who thrives on drama. Despite all that, Sarah was fiercely loyal to her, constantly defending Melissa, making excuses for behavior that made my skin crawl. Me? I kept my distance, polite but distant. Something about Melissa always felt off, but for Sarah's sake, I played nice at all the endless social gatherings. Never, not once, was I alone with Melissa, not because I actively avoided it, but because there was simply no reason. And honestly, I always got the vibe she didn't particularly care for me either. Then, about 6 months ago, Melissa got engaged. And just like that, her entire identity became the bride-to-be. Sarah was her maid of honor, which meant our lives were completely consumed by Melissa's wedding. Hours, days, weeks dedicated to planning, events, and constantly reassuring an increasingly demanding and anxious Melissa. During this time, whispers started. Other mutual friends reached out to Sarah, expressing concerns about Melissa's past. One friend recounted how Melissa had falsely accused her boyfriend of flirting with a cousin, only to later admit she made it up because she felt her relationship wasn't getting enough attention. Another shared how Melissa had claimed someone stole her work idea, causing huge workplace tension, before eventually admitting she might have misunderstood. Red flags, right? But Sarah? She brushed them all off. Melissa's grown, she'd say. You're being unfair. I watched, helpless, as she ignored every single warning. The wedding finally arrived. Lavish, expensive, an hour outside the city. As the maid of honor's husband, I was roped into the wedding party. I spent most of the day with the other groomsmen or at our table. I made small talk, tried to be helpful, and mostly just stayed out of the way. I had maybe 2 brief, completely unremarkable interactions with Melissa, both in big groups. Then, 3 days later, my world exploded. I came home from work to find Sarah at the kitchen table, her face a mask of stone, her eyes red and swollen. Before I could even ask what was wrong, she dropped the bomb. Melissa had called her, distraught, claiming I had cornered her alone at the reception, made inappropriate comments about her dress, and tried to make a move on her. She felt unsafe, traumatized. I was blindsided, stunned. Not only was it a complete lie, it was physically impossible. I was never alone with Melissa. People were everywhere. Photographers were documenting every single moment. I immediately denied it, explained the impossibility, expecting Sarah to question such an outlandish claim. But she didn't. To my horror, to my absolute shock, my wife didn't believe me. She said Melissa wouldn't lie about something so serious. That she sounded genuinely distressed. That Sarah had to stand by her friend. When I desperately reminded her of the logistical impossibility of all those past warnings from our friends about Melissa's history of false accusations, Sarah accused me of gaslighting her. Me, trying to discredit her best friend. That was the beginning of a hellish week. I suggested we check the wedding photos and videos. Proof. But Sarah refused. That's beside the point, she snapped. You could have found a moment not on camera. I suggested we talk to other guests who saw me, but she dismissed it as me rallying people against Melissa. Her unwillingness to even consider my side gutted me. Then, the unthinkable. About 10 days after the wedding, I walked through my front door to find a police officer waiting for me. At my own house, Sarah had filed a police report against me on Melissa's behalf. Harassment. Threatening behavior. In our state, apparently, a third party can do that. Sarah had gone with Melissa to the station. I was interrogated in my own living room. Humiliated. Terrified. I maintained my innocence, explained the dozens of witnesses. The officers took my statement, but informed me there would be an investigation. They told me to stay away from Melissa. That night, Sarah packed a bag. She went to her parents, saying she couldn't be under the same roof as someone who would violate her best friend's trust. I spent the night alone, oscillating between incandescent rage, gut-wrenching confusion, and absolute despair. How could my wife of 5 years believe such a blatant lie over me? How could she take such a drastic step without even pausing to consider? The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, mounting bills, and a reputation crumbling around me. I hired a specialist, draining a significant chunk of our savings. My lawyer told me to gather evidence. I contacted the wedding photographer, the videographer, guests from our table. Meanwhile, the whispers grew into a roar. Some friends, the ones who knew Melissa's history, immediately doubted her. Others kept their distance, waiting. But some, Sarah's closest friends, Melissa's friends, treated me like I was already guilty. Cold stares. Uninvited to parties. A neighbor even crossed the street to avoid me. The shame was suffocating. The investigation dragged on. My lawyer, the police, they interviewed everyone, reviewed everything. And those wedding photos and videos? Invaluable. They showed exactly what I said. I was always in public spaces. Never, not once, alone with Melissa. My story held up. Hers didn't. Then, about 3 weeks later, a call from my lawyer. Melissa had contacted the police again. She wanted to clarify her statement. She now claimed she might have mixed up who approached her. Maybe it was another male guest who looked similar to me. In her emotional state, she had misidentified me. A wave of relief washed over me, immediately followed by pure, unadulterated fury. Mistaken identity. This wasn't a mix-up. This was a calculated, devastating lie that had nearly destroyed my life. And she could just casually walk it back? It was infuriating. The police confirmed they wouldn't be pressing charges. Good news, right? But the damage? To my reputation, my marriage, my mental health? It was already done. I tried to reach Sarah. She refused to speak to me at first. When she finally agreed to meet at a coffee shop near her parents', her reaction wasn't what I expected. No apology. No relief for me. She seemed almost disappointed. She mumbled something about Melissa being confused, that we should all just move forward. When I finally voiced my hurt, my anger, the profound betrayal I felt that she'd chosen Melissa over me, she got defensive. I did what any good friend would do, she insisted. Support someone who claimed to be victimized. She accused me of being insensitive to the broader issues of believing women. I pointed out that I was the victim here, a victim of a false accusation that she had helped legitimize. She dismissed my feelings as typical male fragility. That conversation was a turning point. It slammed into me. She not only failed to trust me, but she couldn't even acknowledge the pain she'd caused. She was more concerned with saving face, with protecting her friendship, than repairing our broken marriage. The next day, I moved out. Found a small apartment month to month. I told her I needed space. Time to process. Time to decide if our marriage could even be salvaged. She looked shocked, like she expected us to just go back to normal. It's been 2 weeks since I left. Sarah's gone from defensive to angry. Texts, calls, accusing me of abandoning our marriage over a simple misunderstanding. She still doesn't grasp the magnitude. She believed a known drama seeker over her husband. She helped file a police report that could have ruined my life. And she still hasn't truly apologized. I'm at a complete loss. A part of me still loves her, still wants to believe we can fix this. But a much larger part feels a fundamental trust is shattered, irreparable. How do I move forward? Can a marriage survive such a profound lack of faith? Am I overreacting by considering divorce? Or is this truly the betrayal it feels like? Thanks to all of you who responded to my first post. The validation, when I felt like I was losing my mind, was a lifeline. After reading your comments, talking to my lawyer, and starting therapy, I decided to try one more conversation with Sarah. With boundaries. We met at a quiet cafe. I told her I wasn't there to argue, but to express my feelings and to hear hers. I was open to reconciliation, but it would require a massive shift, a real change on her part. It was hard at first. She stuck to her guns. I did nothing wrong supporting my friend. I calmly, painstakingly, laid out the damage, the humiliation, the police, the financial drain, the damage to my reputation, and, most importantly, the gut-wrenching betrayal from her. I think it finally clicked when I asked her, "How would you feel if one of my friends accused you of something serious, and I believed them instantly, even filed a police report against you?" She went quiet. Then, for the first time, she truly apologized. Not with excuses, but with real remorse. She broke down, admitting her loyalty to Melissa had blinded her, that she'd been defending her own actions to avoid facing the reality of how she'd betrayed me. Then she revealed something I never knew. Melissa had been subtly poisoning Sarah's mind for years. Little comments. Insinuations about me being untrustworthy, potentially unfaithful. Nothing concrete, just enough to plant seeds of doubt. So when Melissa made her accusation, it played right into those deep-seated fears. It made it easier for Sarah to believe the worst. It offered context, yes, but it didn't excuse her. I told her we had a long, long road ahead. I wasn't sure if I wanted to walk it, but if we did, she'd need to cut ties with Melissa completely and commit to couples therapy. To my surprise, she agreed. Without hesitation. She said she'd already told Melissa their friendship was over after learning about the mix-up admission. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'll need to see real action. We scheduled therapy. I'm staying in my apartment, continuing my own therapy. My lawyer is looking into a defamation case against Melissa, though he warned me it would be difficult. I'm still processing. The cautious hope is there, but the broken trust is a gaping wound. I analyze her words, watch for actions that back up her promises. Some friends who distance themselves have actually reached out, apologizing, now that Melissa's credibility is tanking. I'm taking it day by day. Part of me wants to believe we can build something stronger from this wreckage. Another part, a raw, scared part, worries I'll never fully trust her again. Then, things escalated again, faster than I could have imagined. Our couples therapy session never happened. The day before, I got a call from Rachel, one of Melissa's bridesmaids. She asked to meet privately. Said she had information I needed to know. My gut clenched, but I agreed. What Rachel told me changed everything. Melissa had a pattern. A long, disturbing history of fabricating stories about men making advances, especially the partners of women she was close to. Rachel showed me texts from 3 other women with eerily similar stories. Melissa would become intensely close, then create drama, accuse their boyfriends or husbands. Always the same pattern. And then, she'd walk back the accusation, claiming confusion or misunderstanding, always emerging the victim. Rachel believes Melissa specifically targeted me because she felt threatened by my relationship with Sarah. Whenever Sarah and I were happy, celebrating milestones, Melissa would turn cold towards me, trying to monopolize Sarah's time. Rachel apologized for not coming forward sooner. She said she and other friends had slowly realized the pattern, but were hesitant to speak out of loyalty, out of fear of not being believed. My police report was the tipping point. They realized how far Melissa would go. I was stunned. I'd always sensed something off. But this calculated, manipulative cruelty? I thanked Rachel, asked her to tell Sarah everything. She agreed. That evening, Rachel met with us at my apartment. She repeated it all, showing Sarah the texts, explaining the pattern. Sarah sat there, growing paler by the minute. When Rachel finished, Sarah bolted to the bathroom, sobbing. After Rachel left, Sarah emerged, eyes swollen. "Can we talk?" she whispered. What followed was one of the most honest conversations of our marriage. She admitted Melissa had consistently tried to create distance between us over the years, pointing out my flaws, hinting I was hiding things, even implying I was overly friendly with other women. Sarah had dismissed most of it, but acknowledged it had chipped away at her perception of me subconsciously. It made her vulnerable. Then, the final piece of the puzzle. Years ago, before me, Sarah had been cheated on. Her partner, with one of her friends. Melissa had been the one to discover it, the one who supported Sarah through the heartbreak. That experience created a blind spot, a deep-seated fear of betrayal, and an equally deep trust in Melissa as her protector. The realization that Melissa had been manipulating her for years devastated Sarah. She broke down completely, apologizing endlessly for not trusting me, for letting Melissa poison her view of our marriage. She said she understood if I couldn't forgive her. For the first time, some of my anger shifted. Her actions hurt me deeply, yes. But I saw that Sarah had been a victim of Melissa's long-term manipulation too. We talked late into the night, tracing Melissa's puppet strings through our relationship. Arguments, misunderstandings, so many had happened right after Sarah spoke with Melissa. It was chilling. By morning, we made a decision. Couples therapy could wait. Sarah needed individual counseling to process this betrayal, to understand why she was so vulnerable to it. She also decided to reach out to the other women Rachel mentioned, to form a support network. Melissa, finally, is out of our lives. Sarah blocked her on everything, sent a short message cutting ties, and even informed her family. I'm still processing too. My instincts about Melissa were right, but realizing our marriage was being subtly undermined for years, that's a heavy burden. I've agreed to hold off on any decisions about our future until Sarah has time in therapy. We're cautiously exploring what reconciliation might look like. But then another bombshell. My lawyer called. He discovered Melissa had filed similar police reports against 2 other men in the past 5 years. Both married men. Both accusations withdrawn. One man lost his job. Another was served divorce papers. These weren't misunderstandings. These were calculated attacks. While I was reeling from that, Sarah called, her voice shaking. Melissa had shown up at her workplace, causing a scene, shouting that Sarah was abandoning her, choosing an abuser over their friendship. Colleagues witnessed it. The embarrassment, the sheer audacity. Then, texts from Melissa, alternating between furious accusations and tearful pleas. One particularly disturbing message suggested Sarah was under my control, needing to be rescued. Another threatened to share the real truth about me with everyone if Sarah didn't meet her. That was the absolute final straw. Sarah forwarded everything to my lawyer, then to the police. She filed for a restraining order. It was granted temporarily. Melissa was served, and that just ratcheted up her behavior. She started spinning a new narrative to mutual friends. We were persecuting her. But thanks to Rachel, many of those friends weren't buying it. Then, Melissa's husband called us. He'd moved out. He'd found Melissa's journals, detailing plans to expose various men in their social circle for imagined transgressions. My name was in there. Several other husbands. He was devastated. He believed Melissa, just like Sarah had. But the journals, her reaction to the restraining order, made him question everything. He apologized profusely, offered a statement. With this new evidence, my lawyer is pushing hard for a civil case. Defamation, emotional distress, financial damages. He says we have an unusually strong case. Sarah and I have been staying in my apartment. This external threat from Melissa has strangely created a new kind of solidarity between us, pushing our marital issues aside for now. Sarah has been unwavering in her support, handling the legal chaos with fierce determination, constantly assuring me of her complete belief in my innocence. But here's the thing. While I appreciate her support now, I cannot forget how quickly she turned on me when it mattered most. This solidarity, is a genuine trust in me, or just a reaction to Melissa's undeniable instability? We've talked about this, honestly. Sarah understands rebuilding trust will take time. She's willing to do whatever it takes, including individual therapy. She acknowledges the fundamental flaw in her initial reaction. For now, we're focusing on securing that permanent restraining order and deciding how to proceed legally against Melissa. It's exhausting, but taking action feels better than constantly reacting. As for our marriage, I'm still so unsure. Some moments, I look at Sarah and feel that deep connection, like we're partners facing down a storm. Then, I remember standing in our living room, being questioned by police, while she packed her bag. The pain is fresh again. I've told her honestly, I don't know if our marriage can be saved, but I'm willing to try once this immediate crisis passes. She's accepted that uncertainty with a grace I didn't expect, neither pressuring me nor giving up hope. So that's where things stood. Until yesterday. I wasn't planning another update, but I made a decision. A final one. Based on everything, on my own gut feelings and the overwhelming advice, I've decided to proceed with divorce. While maintaining the restraining order against Melissa, of course. Sarah and I had our last conversation yesterday. I explained that despite her recent efforts, despite the solidarity we'd found against Melissa, the trust in our marriage is irreparably broken. She was upset, but she said she understood. She won't contest the divorce. We've agreed to communicate only through our lawyers now. I'm focusing on documenting everything for the divorce and for the ongoing case against Melissa. And I'm continuing therapy for me. This isn't the outcome I wanted for my marriage, not at all. But I truly believe it's the right decision for my mental health, for my future. I won't be updating further. This chapter needs to close. But to all of you who listened, who shared your thoughts, your experiences, thank you. Your guidance was a lifeline through the darkest days of my life. So, tell me, knowing everything I've been through, do you think I made the right choice? Or is there something more I could have done? I truly want to know what you think.